Welcome to Daily Meditation with Sangha Live.
So, warm welcome to this morning. And we're going to continue our exploration of grief and grieving. We're looking deeper into the entanglements which sometimes make grieving really hard. And we're still on the personal and interpersonal level. I plan for tomorrow to bring it into the larger picture as well. The grief we feel sometimes for the more than me, the whole world, which is definitely something which can be challenging. Yeah. So make good use of the chat box. Any questions you have, anything you'd like to share with us, put it into the chat box. And yeah, I see books being shared there. That's the shared wisdom and the compassion of the Sangha. So make use of it, say hello to each other. And if you have questions for me or anything you would like me to know, you might want to put into capital letters, which makes sure I find it later. Yeah. And what else to say? I'm gonna talk for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we're gonna have a meditation on a theme. And afterwards, there will be some time for shared reflections, which I deeply appreciate. There would be no Sangha without you sharing and contributing your valuable responses. So let's start. We talked quite a bit about what grief is and how we grieve in the past few days. And we all have, and that's how the nucleus we form around today, we all have losses to grieve in our lives. And that we can think loss very big. Yeah, it's the first thing which might come is the death of a loved one or someone. And the loss is also the end of a relationship. The loss is also being separated from what we love. We could think of the loss of work, the loss of health, anything dear to you is included in this grieving losses. And I want to point this morning to the fact that in such a moment, usually not one, but many dynamics come together. There isn't only grief. Yes, there is the grief, but I would say hardly ever is it pure grief. And that's pretty normal, pretty human. We're touched by the dynamics on many different levels. And one level is the grieving level, where we simply sit with the pain, sit with the difference from how we would like it to be to how it actually is. And this bridge, like in London, in the tubes, right, the gap, there is the gap. And we can't bring the one end of the gap and the other end of the gap together. It feels an abyss between those two points in our imagination, that which is and that which, how we want things to be. And it's if you want to put it in very simple terms, it might be something like, I miss you. And that's the abyss. And I wish you were here. I wish it would be different from what it is. Yeah. And aside that, there are other dynamics which show up. And I mentioned these dynamics today because they can actually cover up or stop us from the actual grieving processes. And I consider grief to be a healthy and a very healthy and very insightful process, actually. Yeah. I'm not a friend of saying grief has anything to do with attachment. Yeah. That is one of the Buddhist misunderstandings, to equal grief to, oh, I'm attached to something. Yeah. Of course, there are things which are geared to the heart. And if you ever practiced appreciation or gratitude, you will notice how much flows into you from all different sources and resources. And we are interconnected. So we are positively touched by the presence of something beautiful, something nourishing, something dear to the heart. And if that changes or is no longer available for one reason or the other, of course, we notice the absence of. Yeah, it's as simple as that. We notice the absence of. And they come to the alchemical process, how grief also can do a full circle and bring us back to the appreciation later.
Yeah.
But first of all, there might be dynamics intermingling with your grief, such as regret, guilt. There might be a lot of ambivalent feelings. There can sometimes be grief and sadness and relief at the same time in your heart. And that can be hard to put aside each other with the little word "and" in between. And both things are allowed to stay. And the release does not diminish the grief in any way. And the grief does not exile the relief we sometimes can feel. And there can be bitterness. And there can be an inequality to, an incapacity to stay and rest with the grieving. I need to change. I cannot surrender to feeling the abyss, being standing on the brim, on the hard edge, that's it, of the abyss, and just like feel the wind blowing into our face. Or cannot do that, and therefore I need to move. I need to move around. I need to run in circles, and so on. When something brings a drastic change to our lives, we cannot accommodate earlier. Sometimes my impression is when our relationship, for example, slowly comes to an end, or when the loved one is sick, we have time. We literally have time to accommodate. There is an update every day. To say it doesn't work anymore. I don't feel it anymore. Or I see you suffering, and I see your body weakening. I see your mind capacities, faculties weakening day by day. I can actually, I'm reminded on a daily basis that this is coming to an end. And so the grieving process starts
way earlier than the actual loss.
The actual being separated from, the liveliness, the aliveness, moving out of the body. So the grieving process could start way earlier, and that is something to acknowledge. Sometimes we come in touch with a friend or a loved one who is really sick, and the question of how long they still have is in the room, and that is when grieving starts usually. And I cherish and allow this process because it prepares my heart for that which might come. Maybe in a few days or weeks or in years' time, but I'm in touch with the fragility of the other. The hard thing can be if this comes abruptly and if it comes drastically.
The interrelational field,
the field we create together, the we, that collapses as well. And sometimes we have a feeling, as long as we have connection and relation with each other, there is still hope or possibility for change, or for forgiveness, or for apologies, for amends, for change in our relationship, for change towards that which hurts or is unsolved business. And when there is loss, this field collapses. It goes. And we have no possibility anymore to do the work we wished we could do. That is another thing to grieve. Possibility or even the hope is taken away for things to change between us. And these open questions, or forgiveness and regret and guilt and bitterness, that can really haunt us, that can make, in addition to the grief, the most really challenging. And questions, you might notice your mind running around in questions can be really painful. Could I have done anything differently? Would it have changed if I would have done X, Y, and Z? Would there have been any way for reconciliation? Would the other have been eventually able to forgive me? And equally the other way around, the bitterness is telling the story line from the other perspective. It says, would you have finally been able to acknowledge my hurt? Would you have some time in the future seen how painful this was for me? And maybe there would have come the apology, we think, which would have soothed the heart, or the acknowledgement of the dukkha, the pain, which the other brought into my life. And all these questions, they stand like unanswered in the room. So we have this feeling of being stuck. There seems to be no way forward anymore because the other has left the stage. He's not here, they are not here, she's not here to solve this puzzle with us anymore. Well, we can't do the work together anymore, and this is sometimes where we think now, this gets chronic. This unresolved business that gets chronic, this will stay a burden in my life forever. I've done work with prisoners.
Yeah.
Sometimes in prison for murder, for example, for years and years and years. And they have all kinds of regrets and guilt, sometimes towards those they inflicted harm upon, and sometimes towards their children, which they will not see in years and years and cannot see because of their action. That prison is out. When you're in prison, you're stuck in definitely more than one way. I was very touched by knowing that the prisoners had no way of independent psychological support. At least in the prison I was, the only psychologist they met was the psychologist who was deciding whether or not they can leave the prison area. So there was no unbiased space. And we need unbiased space with these questions. We need sometimes another. Yeah, not the person who is gone and which we lost, but we might need an unbiased other to talk about these waves of regret and guilt and bitterness. What am I not seeing, dear one? What is it where I'm so stuck or can't move forward? Do you see any way to move? Yeah, that the emotion, the commotion comes back into the picture. Yeah. So we are asked to do a process on our own, and that can be grieved. Yeah, to say I would love to do that work with you, and I need to grieve that I now need to do it alone. And then the hard work is to be able to listen to the regret and the bitterness and their stories. And we need good grounding, and we sometimes need a good surrounding to do that. Sometimes we cannot do this work on our own, but we can listen to the narratives and the stories and really maybe not listen to them as true, but as information. Oh, this is the belief. This is what is missing. This is the underlying need. This is what needs acknowledgement. Sort of to listen to the needs and the wishes and the hopes underneath the storyline. What needs to be understood and learned in this whole picture. And sometimes the question, it becomes easier for me if I imagine the other to still be there, and you can even do this with people who are still in your life and you feel stuck. What would I like to say and to do? And what would I like to show you? And what would I like to tell you? And what is underneath that? And we can imagine the other to do something, or to show me something, or to say me something, or to receive something from the other. And what would that be? What would give the feeling of moving forward, of something changing, of something healing? Yeah. And what's underneath that? And after listening in that sort of way, we know something. And we might fall into another way of grieving, acknowledging now I know this, and now I need to grieve that I will not get this from you or be able to show this to you. But I know something which is of value to me. I know something which is important to me. It might be an unmet need. It might be a boundary which has been crossed, and which I know now is deeply important to me, to my emotional safety, to my physical safety. And I may practice and inform myself in ways so that this never might happen again. Yeah. What can I do to protect body, heart, and mind?
I might need to
Find ways to nourish that need. He, she, they will and cannot give it anymore. So where else? Yeah, where else can I nourish this dear heart, mind, and in what way? And if I cannot make amends and give and ask for forgiveness for whatever regret and bitch and guilt I carry within, what is the value I want to practice into my life? I cannot practice it with you, dear one, but may my regret be a reminder that this value, this form of integrity is deeply meaningful to me. And may I practice it in the future. Yeah. And every time the regret comes up, and that is something which was very helpful for me, every time a certain regret comes up, the thing I do is to bow to it and say, thank you for reminding me that this is an important value in my life. And I can actually remember the regret that I practiced it already twice today, and I will hold on to it in the future. So there is no need to be hard on me. I'm on this path already. Thank you. Regret. Oh, inhale, exhale, and it might leave or soften at least. The other thing we experience with the loss or in separation from something we love is it can be a terrible sense of loneliness. When we are left, maybe the other made the conscious decision or not the conscious decision to do so, we often link, especially in a separation, when someone left the picture, someone left the conversation, someone left the relationship, we might link this to our sense of value. Yeah, this is what I said yesterday about the I and mine in the whole picture. When we intermingle the grief with the sense of worthiness, it gets really painful. Yeah, then you leading me says something about my worthiness as a parent, as a lover, as a friend, as a co-worker, whatever it is. We link it to our lovability, to our likability, to our sense of competence sometimes. And we cannot really, I find that hard sometimes to even imagine that it doesn't say something about me. Yeah. But then to remember that a separation or someone leaving the picture can say sometimes more about you. Yeah. The challenges the other one through in this relationship. His or her or their incapacities to be in this field of tension together with me and sorting it out. And it can say something about us rather than me, about us having so different pictures and images and values and ways to approach things and needs at this wee space. It just was a constant field of tension which we were no longer able to hold together. So these are alternative ways to think about it, and probably some of all is true. But if we remember only the me in the whole play, we are narrowing our window. And I can be deeply sad that the we didn't work out, and we can grieve about that. And I can be deeply sad that the you didn't work out. I'm deeply sad that you weren't able to hold this field of tension with me. And I can grieve that. Yeah. But I do not need to put the extra layer of dukkha upon my heart to saying something about my worthiness. And the other thing is when we meet loneliness, and let me make that the last point for this morning, is that where earlier there has been the presence of the other, we might notice now the absence of the other. And sometimes it's really curious. We are still in relationship, but we notice the absence of the other. You are still physically here with me, but something is absent, even if we're in the same room. And this absence of that becomes so obvious. That becomes like the main focus point in our lives. I mainly notice from first of all things I notice is the absence of. And sometimes it helps me to broaden the picture and to say, yes, there is the absence of this, and there is more to life, and then there is more to me. Yeah, that way might be one way to approach it. And sometimes you feel out for yourself what is the appropriate approach for you. Sometimes it's not widening the picture, but transforming the actions into actually something of gratitude and praise and appreciation. The absence of shows me again something which I received a long time, which was beautiful and helpful and nourishing to my life. So every pang, every grief, every moment of grief is also a reminder of the gifts I have received. When I think of my dear loved ones who left their bodies in this life, I now remember after times and times of grief, the gift they have left me with. And I love to think of, for example, my granddad, that he left an imprint in my life. He showed me values, and he gave me childhood memories, and he gave me a lot of things. He gave me direction, and he gave me things to hold on to, so that I really feel by now that he isn't really absent. Yeah, he isn't really absent. He enriched my life in ways which are still palpable up to this moment. And I find this is can be the beautiful chemical process of grieving, where it shifts from being with the abyss of the absence of the other towards now feeling like the richness of what he, she, they contributed to our lives. And yeah, may we all experience this process of alchemy and feel afterward enriched and more peaceful and gain insight into our lives. Okay, that's it for today. Let's sit together and make space for all of that. And just feel into the body, heart, mind space and notice how you're doing right now. If it feels appropriate, you might want to put a hand somewhere, just like, a calming, soothing, supportive hand somewhere on the body. Coming back into the realm of the physical. And the Buddha talked about winds in our lives, 8 winds in our lives, and 2 of them being loss and gain. And in order to meet loss and gain, we need good roots, we need a foundation. So again, once more, my kind invitation to spread out your roots and to notice the earth element below you, feet on the floor, sitting bones on the cushion. To allow the back to spread and be broadness of the lower back, the middle of the back, and the upper back. Heart safely held within the rib cage and the shoulder blades. Maybe my words triggered thoughts or reflections for you in the thinking mind. And rather than
fighting them,
just think of the thinking mind as a radio, which is,
or a bird, a rubber bird,
which is agitated right now. Saw something which
brought agitation to
his being, and he's singing his song of problem solving and protecting and finding solutions right now. Just let him sing. And decide that there is a body to tend to.
see whether
There are fields of energy, of holding on, of tension, which can slowly trickle downwards towards the contact with the earth. You might want to use the gentle movements of breath and breathing, the receiving aspect of the inhale, receiving the gift of breath and oxygen into your lungs, into different spheres of your body, gently opening up. Gently flowing into and flowing around, to nourishing and touching. And the exhale could be and would be an invitation. Every exhale, an invitation to the body. Dear one, if possible, you do not need to hold on to this. The body feel out what is ready and mature to soften and let go. And this work could be continued, allowing the body, the heart, mind, time to soften. The body is a slow animal, needs time and patience. Or if you like to, you bring your attention to something which brings up a regret and bitterness in your life. And dear ones, be careful. If it feels overwhelming, if it feels too shaky, you feel absorbed and consumed by it, come back to the body. The earth is still here. You might, if you come in contact, feel all sorts of feelings. Just name them, acknowledge them. Shame, guilt, anger, numbness, don't know what, but it's strong. And together with the emotion or kind of thoughts might come up, images might come up, might help to label them as well. Image of this mermaid, that mermaid. Or maybe that is enough for the moment. You can dig in or dig out. Or maybe it's good now to re-establish your sense of mindfulness, awareness, and groundedness. So back to the sitting bones, back to the seat already. And whoever likes, and remember that your pre-beings can approach the regret and the bitterness and the ouch, the lasting, maybe chronic ouch, once more again, gently moving towards that. Or just listen to the stories, listen to the images, or maybe somewhere in between a wish pops up. I wished for, I wish it could have been another way. I wish there would be. And decide that you might notice sadness arising or anger arising. To see whether that could be the heart's grieving soul. And yeah, I wish for that, and it's not there. And this gap, this difference makes me sad. Maybe makes me sad and angry. It makes me sad and or notice the regret arising with that. And anytime now, come back to the body. Small increments. We're opening Pandora's box in small increments. And we're going to shut it, close it, when our heart cannot bear more. Back to my beloved feet and the sitting bones. Back to the hand, the shoulders. Back to breath and movement of breath in the body. your heart, your whole being is in turmoil and agitation, how would the breath need to be to soothe that, to calm that? Wherever you need a few impulses from your surroundings. So if the body is too small a vessel with the agitation, listen to the sounds around you, the sounds arising indoors and outdoors. The heart is very agitated. You can open up the eyes and look around in the room. Just notice what is there and what is present. Whenever you take good time to start moving again, and please allow yourself the small movements in the beginning. Take your time and then invite the body to move as it wants. Maybe it wants to shake something out, or it wants to yawn, stretch, and close. Listen to its intuition. And when you feel ready, you can come back to the screen.
Great.
So that is hard work, and I hope you're all doing well. The first thing I'm going to do now is to type in my email address. So anyone who feels that they need support with this week or need support in general, please be in contact so that you do not need to do that work alone. The other thing is what I just showed you, this leaning in and leaning out in small increments. I find this to be one of the most important practices to work with any sort of challenging experience of feeling. It's like becoming agile and flexible to lean into it, and as long as your vessel of mindfulness and awareness is stable, and to lean out of it as soon as you notice your vessel is crumbling and you're collapsing into merging with the experience. That will be the time to lean back and close Pandora's box and stabilize and root again. Or we can do this quite a few times in very small increments until the heart mind gets some safety in it and saying, oh, this is how we do the work. We do not need to overwhelm, and we do not need to avoid. We can go in or we can go out and become very wise in our gut. Great. So, would you like to share anything? Would you like to ask anything? Would you like to point to anything you want to?
Today's podcast is an offering to you from our archive of freely available live daily classes. We make wisdom teachings and meditations as freely available as possible to as many people as wish to practice. You can help ensure we can continue to support a worldwide Sangha by leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts, by sharing this with someone who'd be interested, and by offering a small financial support at sangha.live/donate.